that it is part and parcel of one of the same decision that has to appear before this House next week. And that is why I will not allow you, Honorable Kipkurui, to speak for a reason. That is why, if you look at the summons we did, it was purely out of a motion. One motion, not everyday process. This is a motion of county importance, and only 2 officers will be allowed to speak, and that brings it to a close. So I think we will proceed.
Inquiry, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Kipkurui, that should be the last.
Honorable Speaker, I would wish to inquire, for purposes of clarity, that the matter that this assembly resolve, which, yes, you've indicated that I sought that you come out, speak from the office of the Speaker, to clarify on the appeal by the CC for Finance. Did the said officer, Malakwen, did he appeal, or was it the same issue under one address, Honorable Speaker? So that we are very clear about this, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Kipkurui, thank you for that, and I'll confirm to you that it is the entire team. We've personally scheduled a meeting for the Powers and Privileges Committee, and that will be a domain that by the time I come here, it will be a consensus agreed. So let us proceed quickly. Dr. Francis.
Thank you, the Honorable Speaker. Thank you as well for giving me this opportunity.
Order, honorable members. Order, honorable members. We can consult in low tones. Proceed, Daktari.
Thank you so much. I want to begin, Honorable Speaker, by being deeply sorry that today we are addressing an issue, a nature issue, that all of us knows that it is a basic right of any public service employee, wherever they are in this country. An issue that deeply, to us as a county government, we really regret, and more so for the simple reasons that it is for the reasons that are actually beyond our control, as we are going to shortly explain with the CC for Finance. I would like to state clearly, Honorable Speaker, that every month, a very basic role of human resource among the daily supervision of staff to ensure that they work is to prepare for the salary of all the employees. And ordinarily this is done so that the closure of the payroll is around 15th to 20th of every month. And it is a process which I would shortly explain. That once the IPPD, which is managed in Nairobi, a payroll system that we used to manage our payroll for all the staff in counties and even national government departments and the national government ministries. It opens around between, it officially closes between 3rd and 5th, and then it opens for the purpose of management of the payroll. And among the things that are done within that period includes, 1, to ensure that all the staff that have been working remain in the payroll. 2, to ensure that any new staff is entered into the payroll. 3, to ensure that any deductions that are supposed to be made are actually updated, and ensure that any other kind of payments that are supposed to be done is actually done by the payroll manager and the officers that are attached to that particular office. Once that is done, at around 15th, the payroll is closed for the purpose of now moving it to the next level, the level of giving it to the finance, so that they can now requisition for the payment of the same salaries. And ordinarily, Honorable Speaker, as a matter of practice earlier on and even currently, when that payroll closes, finance picks it immediately to requisition for funds, and I'm sure CC responsible for finance is going to explain the same, what happens from there. But I want to say that since the month of December, Honorable Speaker, we have had a challenge in getting timely disbursement of funds from the National Treasury. And this has occasioned delayed payments time and again. From December, we have had similar experience Subsequently, in the months of January, February, and even lately, we are still there. I would want to be very categorical that much of the monies that we use to pay the salaries of our staff are the national government disbursements that we get every month, and really takes care of the staff needs, including all that I have been able to explain. Within that, Honorable Speaker, all the salaries that we pay the staff, it is at that point that we will also have the deductions that are usually made for the staff. This includes NHIF, NSSF, any other financial obligations like loan repayment, and any other deduction that ordinarily would be under the responsibility of the particular employee to actually pay. And in the absence of salaries that are actually received at the right time, Honorable Speaker, we have had serious challenges up to that at the moment, even as I speak. We confirmed yesterday that we were receiving disbursement for the month of May, while we are now almost at the end of June. And as I speak now, Honorable Speaker, we are actually paying the salaries for May. And I would want to say that we truly regret this. It's a practice that we have never done. We have always endeavored to ensure that we pay salaries of staff, one, timely, and as much as possible, ensure that we meet our obligation as a county government. I would want to stop there, Honorable Speaker, so that my colleague Alfred is going to shed more lights on the issue of finances. Thank you.
CPA Lagat.
Honorable Chair.
Yes, Honorable Kipkurui.
Honorable Chair, would it be well if we can be able to interject on matters of HR to the CS only before we go to finances?
The first question I wanted to do is just for them to, you see, that is like opening remarks, so that once I open the plenary, it will be specific. We start with the HR, then we proceed to finance. So proceed, CPA Lagat.
Thank you, Speaker, and Chair of the session, and the entire House for this invitation to be able to really address the most pertinent issue, as the County Secretary has put it. Yes, indeed, I confirm no salary for May has been paid, including even for the Governor and myself, and that I wish to state that we share the same distress, and this has been a matter that has been of top priority to me over the past period of time. So just to quickly confirm on the issue of why the non-payment. As the CS has put it, is that we receive disbursements from the National Treasury monthly. And I wish to confirm that out of our budget that we had for 1920, we budgeted what was in the CARA of about 5.3 billion shillings, being money that we shall receive from the national government. And we also budgeted about 600 million as on-source revenue. Our payroll is about 3.7 billion shillings per year, which translates to about 310 million shillings per month. The payment of salaries is, of course, pegged on the balances that we have in our CRF accounts. Ordinarily, once the County Allocation of Revenue Act has been approved by Parliament, and our budget has been approved by the Assembly, what usually happens is that we take the Appropriation Act for gazettement, and we share the same with the National Treasury and the Control of Budget. The National Treasury then develops a disbursement schedule for the amount that is due from them. In this case, the 5.3 billion shillings is prepared as a schedule by the National Treasury, and it varies. On a certain month, they'll give us, say, 500 million. On certain months, they'll give us 450 million. But the total amount that we'll have received at the end of the financial year, which is June, will always be equal to the figure that they have actually approved. In this case, the 5.3 billion shillings. The schedule, ordinarily, you would expect that they would disburse the schedule based on our needs. You realize the critical need and the most, the first charge on any amount that we receive is salaries. And even when you look at the consolidated fund services in the national government, the first charge is salaries, followed by pensions, followed by the external debt and even the internal debt. So ordinarily then what we would expect is that National Treasury would disburse the funds at a time when we are due to pay the payroll. But this has not been the practice, Mr. Speaker. Every time, and I brought a schedule of when we received the funds vis-a-vis when we actually paid out the salaries. Every time we receive funds, we take about 3 days to settle the salaries. And you can note that we've had certain months, for example, September of 2019, we were able to pay our salaries in good time by the 23rd. We were able to, by 1st of October, we were able to pay July, August salaries also by September, the right time. But over time, Mr. Speaker, when delays from National Treasury, and there's been communication continually through the CEC's forum and even individually when we make inquiries, there have actually been delays outside the schedule that they shared. They share a schedule where they are supposed to give us the funds by 15th of every month. So in this case, we should have received our monies for May by 15th of May. But we are receiving our May allocations on 24th of June. That is a very long delay of about 1.5 months. And therefore, that basically explains that the fact that we really cannot be able to process salaries because we have nothing in our CRF. We realize that our own source revenue only accounts for about 5% of the allocation. That means we rely 95% of our operations on receiving funds from the National Treasury. So therefore, as and when we receive, and in this case, when we receive May allocations, we pay May salaries. We receive June allocations, we pay June salaries. However, we've not been able to do what other counties, for example, Uasin Gishu has been able to do, whereby sometimes they're able to collect a substantial amount of on-source revenue to give themselves an extra month's cushion to be able to pay for times when there has been serious delays by the National Treasury. So yes, indeed, I confirm the delays have been purely caused by our disbursements, receipts from the National Treasury, and the challenge of us not collecting sufficient on-source revenue to be used as a cushion has also aggravated the issue further. So that is, in a nutshell, gives us the reason why the delays, and I will now be going into specifics as I shall be asked, the specifics of each of those items in terms of on-source revenue and the issues pertaining to National Treasury. Thank you.
Honorable Gideon, I would ask you to be the first, and then we would want us maybe to focus on HR, that is as headed by Francis, Dr. Francis. And we'll open the plenary. Once we exhaust the same, we come back, because I know most of the questions lie with the finance team. Honorable Gideon.
So I think the first question is on the issue of HR, as mentioned by the CS, is that's been mentioned by CEC Finance that on a monthly basis we use around 310 million. Could you be able to shed light on our human resource, the workforce that we have as the people of Nandi County, the total workforce, and of course also mention the issues of related to rationalization of the rationalization of the workforce within Nandi County. Is there a consistent way, or it is a facade? In the sense that, to be specific, maybe, for example, I am employed today as a graduate. What is my entry grade in terms of job group and salary, and whether that is indeed the true position that we have?
Before I can give the next member, maybe as a follow-up to that, ensure in giving your answer, you try place where the County Public Service Board comes into that. What role do they play? When you talk about rationalization of your staff, what role does it play? What is the interconnect between the County Public Service Board, which is expected by law to be an independent entity, vis-a-vis the chief officers and the county secretary? Because the chief officers and the county secretary are supposed to be in charge of the bureaucracies within the departments. So what is the nexus between the two? So that as you will be answering that question, we'll be also be keen to look at proposals and solutions that can apply. So let me invite 3 other questions, because I want us to cluster 5 questions. So we have 4 more questions before the CS can answer them. Honorable Cynthia will go first, followed by Honorable Kipkurui.
Thank you, Chair. I have 2 questions to the County Secretary. So one is, as a County Secretary, can you be able to account for all staff at all times in matters deployment, 2, terms of service, and 3, when they were recruited? The second question, again, the Office of the CS, it implements postings and transfers. I would like to know what informs the posting of staff to offices with inadequate furniture and equipment. Allow me to give an example. Being a chair of the housekeeping committee of sports and youth, I frequent those offices. And when I get there, there are so many employees, and I can actually tell you the number of seats in that particular office. And at any given time, when you walk into that compound, you will see not less than 8 staff sitting outside on a bench. It's not like they want to bask in the sun. It is because they do not have even seats in the offices. And the last one, I want to ask the CS what measures has been taken to motivate the county staff, generally all the county staff. And the other question is, we have employees whose salaries differ. You find an employee who was employed in 2016. Let's take an example of 3 employees. They were employed in 2017 or 18 in the same department, the same job description, the same qualifications, the same job group, but the salaries differ. Would want to know what informs that. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Honorable Kipkurui.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. One, I would want to hear from the CS. You know, there is a question that we have consistently asked from even the last term, and it has never been answered conclusively. What is our exact number of employees in this county? In the same, how many employees are permanent and pensionable? In the same, how many are permanent and pensionable from the first regime? And how many have been recruited on permanent and pensionable from 2017 to today, including yesterday? On the same, how many employees of the total are on contract? And we are aware we have several schemes of contract. You need also to clarify the schemes of contract that you have. We have those who are on 1-year contract, we have those who are on 3-year contract, some are in 5-year contract. And again, there are staff that are not in the payroll. All of us remember, in the last regime, there were staff whose salaries were being paid using M-Pesa. Do we still have the same? Because you might be able to give me the data of all the employees that you have in the county within the payroll system. But there are those who are outside the payroll. So I'm asking, how many staff of the county are outside the payroll? Secondly, Honorable Speaker, that addressed, being the head of public service, it is your duty and interest to ensure that the welfare of your staff is taken care of. Have you ensured, because I know the issue of payment would be somewhere, have you ensured that your staff's NHIF is up to date? And if not, for how many months? Again, on that, Honorable Speaker, I would wish to know the measures that the head of public service has taken with a view that there has been consistent failure to remit NHIF deductions on time. And we know it is so risky when staff when staff's NHIF are not up to date? What measures have you taken to ensure that it does not interfere with their coverage? Thirdly, Honorable Speaker, like the Honorable Cynthia Muga said, I think this county has excess employees. You find workers in the executive not doing much. You find them all over. The question is, do we have performance contracts? And do we have a proper monitoring of the same so that it results in performance appraisals? And if you do, you need to submit to us the report on annual appraisals. And in that, you will be able to answer the question, how many staff for the last 3 years or 2.5 years through the performance appraisal have been declared redundant? Because you wouldn't tell me after appraisals, everyone is doing a good job. When Honorable Cynthia said there are some who are playing poker, not solitaire, in the streets of Kapsabet. Thank you.
Honorable, I think I'll give a lady, then Komen will be the last one. So Honorable Nyauntu, Honorable Komen, then the CS answers that question as I take the next round of questions.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Now, my question is like this. Yeah, which basis, what do you base on when employing? Getting the fact that Nandi County has got 30 wards. Do you normally do your employment, or do you distribute your employment evenly, or what do you base on? Now, given the fact that Nandi is a cosmopolitan area, how many minorities have been employed? And if they are employed, in which sectors? Then lastly, do you actually base on TUSA's gender? And if it is like that, let us know. Thank you very much.
Honorable Komen.
Thank you, Chair. Mine is, I would want to make a bit of follow-up on what Honorable Kipkuru Chepkwony put, is how do we pay the staff who are not in payroll? What is the mode which is used to pay? Because I know they exist, including the ones who are working at Serem market. I know they are there. Number two, why is it that their employment is not regularized, yet they play a vital role in terms of revenue collection? Others have, they have letters of regularized of employment, yet they only do blogging for this government. So, terrible. Another question. Do we have organizational charts for various departments, or for all departments? And if they exist, why should we have excess employment, yet the structures actually informs the number and the cadre for employment? Number three, all of us are in social media. Do we employ also staff just to sit and do blogging for this government? We need answers for that, because there are a number of bloggers who are 24 hours on internet just blogging. Number four, do we have documentary evidence that you've written to NHIF, NSSF, KRA on the delays? And how are you going to handle issues of penalties in this in this county? Thank you.
Daktari, I hope you've indicated all those. So you'll answer one by one in reference to specific questions, starting from my co-chair, that's Honorable Gideon. Proceed.
Thank you.
And I would ask the people who ask questions, be keen to ensure that all your questions are properly answered before I go to the next round. Quickly, Daktari.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for the round of questions asked by the various members. I'll begin with the particular question asked by Honorable Gideon that sought to be clear on the total workforce that we have in our county. And I would like to state as follows, that we have permanent staff, 1,652. And the contract staff, we have 3,455. That gives you a figure slightly more than 5,100. Specifically 5,107. Inside the contract staff, we have 1,000, within the contract staff, we have 1,264 ECD teachers. And we have the remaining staff that are distributed within all the departments of our county, including health, agriculture, and the rest. The second part of that question, if I got it clear, is that the summary of employees employed, though that question was asked, I think, by Honorable Kipkirui. Now that I'm there, I seek to be allowed to mention this at this point. The staff summary of employees employed from August 2017 to date. We have permanent staff, 210. We have ECD teachers, we have a contract staff rather, of 2,266.
To ECD?
No, contract staff. Within that we have ECD.
So how many?
2,266.
2,266.
Yes. Inside there, we have staff that were initially casuals that were paid outside the system in the previous government that we actually changed their terms into contracts. And the number is 1,169 within the 2,266. Inside there, we also have the ECD teachers, about 473. We have staff.
Sorry, Chair, to be clear.
Honorable Kipkirui.
In the casuals transition to contracts
Yes.
of 1,169,
Yes.
are you saying how many ECD there are there?
No.
Yeah, so you need to be clear. So the ECD, to be clear, the ECDs that you are referring are 1,664, and that stands.
I am giving.
I think let the CS finish his
the
contribution so that you can get clearly the facts, because to my, what I've got is giving the breakdown of the 2,266.
Correct.
Yes, which
Very
is
well.
the new, actually, which is from August 2018.
Very clear.
Proceed, Daktari.
Thank you. And we have ECD that were employed within this period, 473. Yes. We have some staff that were requested by departments within the same period. I will shortly give you the exact number. I'll shortly. Honorable Speaker, in regard to the second part of the question as was asked by Honorable Gideon, the entry grade and the salaries of the various staff. Honorable Speaker, you realize that employment is based on need. And I would want to begin from a critical point that the scheme of service that we are using in the county is the same as the scheme of service used by the national government. And the various cadres of staff have different schemes of service, and equally they have different entry points for the entry-level staff. When we are recruiting staff, for example, a diploma officer would basically begin from job group H, and a graduate would begin from job group K, depending on the scheme of service available. And as much as possible, we are well guided by the HR manual and the regulations on this. When we are doing competitive recruitment, we clearly state the various job groups that we are taking the staff at. In the year 2017, when His Excellency the Governor set a task force to look at, among other things, issues of staff, to include the number of staff that were engaged on casual basis, the salaries and recommendations on the same. We realized that we had a big workforce, one, that was earning paltry pay, which was between 4,000 and 8,000. And there was need to review their terms. And the recommendation that we were given by the head of committee was that it was necessary to transition all the staff into a contract basis. And since we had just started implementing the budgets, we had an issue of resources on how we were going to pay these staff under the new terms. But the head of committee recommended that we pay the staff on terms of minimum wage bill as guided by the Minister of Labor, minimum wage bill. So that any staff, and I want to be very clear on the same, that was non-professional who was already a casual, the recommendation was to pay 11,291. Staff with certificates, the minimum recommended wage bill was 15,456. The diploma recommendation was 18,201. And the degree was 32,865. The particular staff signed 3-year contracts. The particular staff signed 3-year contract, which is still running. And the Honorable Speaker, to be very clear, is that those the staff that are earning.
Maybe first, before you proceed, You're saying when they transition from casual to
Contract. Yes.
are you saying they were given a 3-year contract?
Yes.
Are you confirming?
They were given a 3-year contract.
3 or 1?
1, and then it was renewed.
You should be clear,
Yes.
Bwana County Secretary.
It was renewed.
It is?
Yes, the one that is running now is 3
So they transition into 1-year contract first.
to begin with.
When you say they transition to 1 year, would you just specify the year so that there is no mix-up?
Thank you.
For which year? Because I assume you're talking about a
To-
financial year or not a financial.
It started in early 2018
Yes.
to 2019.
So then from 2019, they are now given a 3
A
year.
3-year contract.
Fair enough.
Very clear.
Chair, now that we are there, can you confirm there is no staff who has a 1-year contract as we speak now?
Who has a?
Who has a 1-year contract as we speak? That all of them now are on the minimum 3-year contract.
Daktari?
Thank you, Chair. I am very clear that as a policy of the government, any staff whose contract was ending, we are giving 3-year contracts on the basis of what I'm going to explain.
Chair,
Yes, Honorable Kipkurui.
that's okay. The statement is okay, but the answer. Are
Okay.
there staff who are still on 1-year contract as we speak?
I would want to seek similar clarification from my officers in order to be very clear on the exact number of staff who are there on 1-year contract.
Honorable Gideon Eni.
I sought to be very, very, very honest in what I'm going to do.
Fair enough. You are under oath, so
Yes.
proceed.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Remember, Daktari, you will have to answer to the implementation committee
Yes.
because when the report will be tabled, I'm sure my co-chair will be pressed to be able to adduce because you've deferred for clarification, which is okay. So
For
I'm
1-year
sure-
contract.
Yeah, like that question,
Yes.
just about whether it is there or not. So ensure that as at the end of the session, the implementation chair, who happens to be the chair, the co-chair with myself, he'll be able to get the same information.
Thank you very much.
Chair,
Proceed.
further clarification?
Honorable Kipkurui, quickly.
Chair, you say that it transitioned the casuals from the first regime, so to speak, a total number of 1,169. Can you confirm that of all the casuals, none was left? To say all of them were transitioned.
Daktari?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. When the HADO committee sat to deliberate on the issues, their methodology included an audit of the previous existing number of staff. And the staff were asked to appear before the audit committee. Everyone who appeared has been transitioned. I haven't received any complaint at the moment on those who are left. Honorable Speaker, the last bit that you guided me on the role of the board, chief officers and the county secretary on all these issues. The chief officers, for the purpose of management of human resource, are authorized officers. Responsibility delegated to them by the Public Service Board for the purpose of management of staff under them. And they look at all the issues of staff, including welfare, recommendations for promotions, appraisals, disciplinary, initiation of disciplinary process. And they work hand in hand with the County Human Resource Advisory Committee, and they work hand in hand with the County Secretary. The County Secretary here, as the head of public service, plays a coordinating role in all issues to do with human resource within the various departments and ensures that we have harmony, we have proper day-to-day operations of the county going on well, and as well, the county secretary is an authorized officer delegated responsibility given by the Public Service Board. And in management of staff, the three entities must work hand in hand. In all issues recruitment, the chief officers makes recommendations in case there is need for any employment through the county secretary, and the county secretary will write to the board confirming that there is need for those positions, and at the same time the need has proper financial implication taken care of. And the Public Service Board is a mandated body under the law, County Government Act 2012 rather. And the responsibility is very clear. They recruit and of course in liaison with all the authorized officers will manage the issues of staff. Public Service Board has the final authority in issues of recruitment as to the qualifications, and they have the final authority again in matters of exiting staff from the service, including disciplinary process. The Honorable Cynthia, in the first question that was asked, Honorable Speaker, is can the County Secretary be able to account for all the staff? Yes. Through my chief officers, I do this. And I have records of where the officers have been deployed. The chief officers are responsible for the daily operations within their departments. And in case of anything, I get reports. Issues of deployment of staff, the Honorable Speaker, is that when staff are being recruited by the Public Service Board, they are sent to the various, the Department of Public Service and Administration sends the staff to the various chief officers for the chief officers to deploy accordingly. And therein, when the deployment has been done, the officer will report to the chief officer, and the chief officer from the department that the officer has reported to will give an arrival letter, which now will be used as a very critical document for preparation of salaries. And that is when the officer will have started work. Transfers of officers between departments is the responsibility of the county secretary. Within a department is the responsibility of a chief officer. On the basis of need, officers are transferred where they are required to work, where there is a vacancy, which is guided by a question that I was asked by Honorable Comment on the issue of organizational structure. Honorable Speaker, we have an organizational structure which I would say a working one, because it has not been approved. It's a draft that is able to guide us in the management of staff at the moment. And then the issue of having staff where there is no furniture, the Honorable Speaker, is that it is the responsibility of the employer to ensure that staff gets an appropriate place to work, and all the tools of work includes furniture. And more so on the officers that are supposed to be in the field, and also those who are supposed to be in the central office. For example, for this particular case, the office at the county headquarters. Some of these issues have been raised, particularly lack of adequate furnitures, and we have been able to, in some instances, been able to address as and when finances are available. However, I have guided the chief officers time and again to ensure that those officers who are supposed to go to the field, let them go and work at the field and ensure that they are always in direct contact to where their services are required. A very critical issue, Honorable Speaker, is motivation of staff.
Dr. before you proceed on that,
Yes.
when you say that you direct the staff to go to the field, that would mean if indeed we have operational sub-county offices or ward offices, if any.
Yes.
Let me give the case for county assembly. each of the county assembly member has an office, which is paid for under operations. So that you find SRC demarcated that each MCA to have some staff station at the ward office. So it would be very easy for us, for example, to say, if it is about field, there's someone at the field. Can that be said to be the position for the county executive? Because one of the biggest challenges we've noticed, even when we do public participation, you find your officers being stranded. So that beyond the headquarter, how about those at the field? So that you push them to the field, but what exactly, where exactly are they operating from? Secondly, on the same, don't you think also they seem to be biased where the staff seated at the county headquarter seem to be properly kitted or have better furniture compared to the departments outside, the satellite departments, because not all your departments are stationed within the main headquarter. Can we then say that there's a fair distribution between those that are in satellite offices vis-a-vis those at the main office?
Chair.
Chair.
I will first ask Honorable Cynthia to clarify her question, if there's any, then Honorable Kipkurui.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Just to follow up on the question that I asked about inadequate furniture, to the county secretary, I am just wondering, is it the furniture that is inadequate, or it is the workforce that is too big for the furniture? And secondly, on the issue of going to the field, I am on record in this particular house for bringing a motion that asked the county executive to ensure that the ward administrators have their offices. And for the record, I am helping my ward administrator in Kilibwani ward. He's using my office and my furniture and my appliances in the office. Just for the record, it is 2 years down the line since I moved that motion in this particular house. I want you to explain to this house, what is the job of a ward administrator? Is he supposed to have an office, or is he supposed to be in the field? And kindly clarify the field, because you see, I mentioned staff from the Department of Sports. So when you say field, when a county secretary, it could mean literally the field, like go and play. So kindly be able to tell us who is supposed to go to the field and who is supposed to stay in the office, and kindly use the example of the ward administrators, who are the people who are suffering most in this government.
Kipkurui, quickly.
Chair, two clarifications I want to seek. He said, when he was explaining the relation between the service board and the county secretary or head of public service office and the chief officers, it is a requirement that before any department requests for employment or deployment, it is important that they confirm or get clearance for that case from the finance to confirm that there will be finances available for the same. Has that been happening? That's one. Secondly, when you spoke about the employees, you said in the scheme, employees, those who are with certificates, and up to minimum of 15,000. Diploma is 18,000, with some figures up there. Honorable Chair, can you confirm that that has been rationalized? Because, Honorable Chair, we are aware of some certificate holders, so to speak, who are still earning 11,000. We are also aware of some diploma holders who are earning below the 18,000. Have you rationalized? And if it has not been rationalized, how many staff are underemployed for that case? And how many staff are overemployed? Those are, I think that would be the proper HR term. Today, those who are overemployed and underemployed, so that it takes care of that question. Then, Honorable Chair, he has not, he was responding procedurally until he forgot the question of performance contract that I had asked him an appraisal. And additionally, I would want to remind him, because he's on record in his honorable house when he was being vetted, and a question that I asked him myself, that would he ensure that there is an organogram for this county within 1 year And his response was on the affirmative. And Honorable Speaker, he was in the Public Service Board in the first regime. 7 years down the line from devolution, there has never been an organogram for this government. Why is that?
Maybe just so that you clarify all, you gave us a breakdown of staff employed from 2017 to date. Could you also clarify if the figures you have given include 381 employees that are currently stranded, not knowing where to fall to? They are working, but not as per the terms of the letters they have. And a larger percentage of them have not received their pay, over 60%. Only a few that has been confirmed as being paid, but not paid as per the terms. Secondly, confirm the exact figure of staff since 2017 to date employed. The figure, the total figure. This regime.
Daktari, in the interest of time, under 3 minutes, you should be able to clarify that, because I can see comment. Before comment, you can come in out, those first dispense with, quickly, under 3 minutes. Just answer that, so that we move with speed.
I'll quickly begin with what Honorable Gideon has asked me last. This is excluding the 381. Then, yes.
Maybe just to also interject on that, excluding 381.
Yes.
The question was, give a summary of employees. It was specific, employed by this county since 2017. What is the reason that informed the exclusion of 381? When they are employees, advert was done, recruitment done, letters are given.
A little while ago, I explained, Honorable Gideon, that there is a process before you are entered into the payroll. And we have not entered this particular staff into the payroll.
Then confirm then, how many, because you have not touched that question as asked by Honorable Kipkurui, how many employees are outside the payroll and are working for this county?
Thank you.
Daktari, proceed quickly.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I was moving on well. There were quite a number of issues that were raised by Honorable Cynthia. I want to confirm that every working officer deserves to work from a decent environment. And where we have a problem, just like she raised the issue of what administrators, they deserve to be housed well and actually ensure that they work from a very good environment. We are going to undertake as a county government to ensure that progressively we're going to do this because it has financial implications. There was an issue that I was asked about the distribution of staff within the counties, within the county, particularly the sub-counties. Just like I said, the distribution is on the basis of need. Where they are needed, where the particular staff is required, then they will be taken there. The issue of, as asked by Honorable Kipkurui organogram, it's on course. It is being done by the Department of Public Service and Administration, and the process is ongoing. Motivation of staff, Honorable Speaker, is a right of any employee to ensure that the staff are satisfied in their place of work, and there are various ways of motivation. Key is, among other things, perhaps, is to endeavor that they are paid at the right time, they are trained, and we have a clear system where you can motivate staff based on a nature, standard practices of ensuring that good performers are actually motivated. We have this as part of the plans in the Department of Public Service, and I would say that we will be rolling out quite a number of issues once we actually finalize on some of the very critical issues that we require. The other issue is harmonization of salaries. I said, Honorable Speaker, that we have staff earning various types of salaries, which I explained. And when I was explaining, the staff signed the contracts. We have a plan as a county government to ensure that the disparities in staff salaries are going to be harmonized, specifically at the point when their contracts end. They are harmonized at the end of the contract, because you cannot simply harmonize salaries in the middle of a contract. It is important that as an HR practice, at the period that an employee assigned serves the complete period afterwards, they will be actually, we will do the harmonization and ensure that those who are fit to be in particular, rightful job groups are placed accordingly. The issue of the payment of the casual staff, usually when at the end of a period, say a month, the immediate supervisors will prepare a roll of employees where they sign to show that they've been working. And inside that roll, we have the account numbers of the particular staff, and ordinarily they would be paid through their accounts, and it's not M-Pesa, as was said. There was another issue that was raised by a member. I want to be very clear that when we are employing, and I'm sure Waziri Finance is going to confirm this, we usually confirm availability of funds. We don't simply do this without confirmation. Issues of NHIF, Alfred is going to address the issue shortly.
Daktari, then why the 381 if you didn't get a nod from Waziri Finance? Because that's where seems to be the issue. Yes, you have the 381, but the finance team not seem to be on the same page. Proceed quickly.
Chair, possibly the right question would be if there was clearance from CCF or the Treasury for that case, why are not being paid from the payroll?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I want to not specifically say, I want to take you through the story of 381. In the year 2018, I'm going to be very brief, Honorable Speaker. We advertised positions of support staff to include cleaners and a little bit of those who will provide security. We made a recommendation to the board after consideration of availability of funds, and we asked them to recruit 170 staff. 170. 170. And the board went ahead to do 381, which was outside what we had requested them to give. So within this 381, we asked the board, where did you get the notes to go ahead and recruit the remaining balance of, I think it's about 200 and something, isn't it? Yes. And as we had budgeted for 170. And this is the former board who actually did this. And so the question is, how do we get the 170 out of the 381?
Have you tasked the board? Because now then we have a new board in place with a bit of objectivity and neutrality. Have you then tasked them?
We are on the matter.
With the concurrence of the Treasury to rationalize the same?
Yes, we are on it, Honorable Speaker.
Proceed quickly.
Monitoring and appraisal.
Chair, we will not let that just go.
Honorable Kipkurui, I wanted first, the thing is...
so that we are progressing, Chair.
Listen. I don't want us to belabor so much, because I also want to give the other members a chance to speak. I think as we'll be debating on the floor of the House, because if you look at the answer, the way it is as complete as it is in terms of there was 381, Treasury approved 170.
Yes.
And therefore it is a question of how to mix. I would rather the same be discussed in plenary so that the House also can come up with proposals to help the board. Proceed quickly.
Thank you for your guidance. The issue of appraisals, Honorable Speaker, is our standard HR practice. For one, at the end of every financial year, or actually either calendar year or financial year, it is important to do an appraisal of staff performance to ensure that those particular staff who perform well are either motivated, or those who don't actually perform well are actually given respective show causes to explain why that particular performance is not up to date. We did an appraisal last year. And even at the end of, at the moment now, we are coming close to the end of staff that are under, in agriculture, AI, artificial inseminators. Their contract is ending this month and appraisals are going on. And those who perform well, we will continue to have them. Those who don't perform well or the other, actually the right HR practice is going to apply, which might include actually termination of their contracts accordingly. The other issue that were raised was on basis, I think Honorable Nyauntu asked a question on the basis of employment, distribution of employees, particularly whether we are considering all the employees in this county, given that this county has we have minorities and we have quite a number of diversities. I want to say that we do so. I don't have the exact number as it is, but I can endeavor to avail, Honorable Speaker, if I'm required to. The issue that was raised by Honorable Comment, the particular staff that are not on payroll, I think I've explained how they are being paid. Regularization of salaries, I said when the contracts end, we endeavor to ensure that we put each and every employee rightfully as per the schemes of service. Organization structure, like I committed within 1 year when I was being vetted, we are on course. And the remaining bit is what we call, I would soundly say we are remaining with stakeholder engagement. Once we are done with that, we will proceed with the process of completing the same. The other issue is the issues of penalties. Penalties as a result of lack of payment of some statutory deductions. Waziri Alfred is going to address that. And the other issue is the indisciplined staff. I think one of it was given by Honorable Comment. The issue of blockers, I want to say that ordinarily, if such a case arises, we have a procedure of dealing with indisciplined staff, and the immediate people to deal with are actually the immediate supervisors. In the absence of a clear way of doing it, I come in as the head of public service. And I think we are always very fair in the way we do disciplinary processes.
Bonasias, the question was specific. Do we have people employed in Nandi County human workforce as bloggers whose work is to be in the internet?
No.
To blog?
No.
Proceed, Daktari. Or
thank you.
I'll give Honorable Gideon before I can give the next round of questions.
Maybe there's other specific areas that you've not answered. There was a question of whether, asked by Honorable Kipkurui, whether what kind of contracts do we have? Because we have some on contract on consolidated terms of service, of pay, and others on certain job groups. What inform? The consolidated ones and the others who are on contract but with a breakdown of their... I don't know whether you get my question. You are a head of public service. You ought to understand my question. By those words, who's supposed to be earning 32 is maybe earning 32 plus an house allowance of 4,000, commuter allowance of 3,000 and the likes. That was the question. Are you aware of that, such kind of discrepancy in the human resource?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair. I am very much aware. I explained that when you're coming in, we use a scheme of service. And any new staff that we take, we have been using scheme of service, where an entry point level of a diploma is H and for a degree is K. I think I explained earlier on, and I'm aware about it completely.
Maybe let me ask this way. How does one change from a salary of consolidated of 32 to maybe now 42 based a graduated pay? How does one change within the contract basis? Maybe it was 3 years, or for that matter, even the 1 year contract that they were given. Within that 1 year contract, there are some that transited from a consolidated pay of 32 to a graduated pay.
Thank you, Chair. When you are handling issues of human resource, particularly issues of promotions and change of job, the job designations and the job groups for that matter. One, when one signs a contract, that contract remains binding until the end of the contract. Two, if there is a need to change and harmonize salaries with the others, you have to plan and budget for the same so that as you move on to the next, when the contract is ending, then in consideration of the need to change, like for example, in this particular instance you're asking, the consolidated pay, if there is a reason for us as a county to really transition them into the graduated pay, as you said, we budget it, and we will be able to consider all the other issues, including performance, so that even as we move them, we ensure that we are moving the right people who, for one case, are actually providing good services to the county, and there has to be a budget, and it has to be done at the end of the contract. We cannot do in the middle of the contract.
So, Honorable Kuri?
Chair, there is one question that I wouldn't want us to miss. The exact number of staff outside the payroll. You indicated 381. How many other? Secondly, on the same, of the 381, how many have been assigned duties and how many have not been assigned duties? And how many of those who have been assigned duties have been paid, and for how many months? And how many of those have not been paid, and why?
Honorable, comment quickly. And the next round of questions, prepare.
Thank you, Chair. I think there's some explanation that I did not get well. I think we are in a country which is ruled by law. Do you want to say, CS, that you have unlawful contracts? Because you cannot coerce somebody to sign for a contract which is below the stipulated pay, and you actually just insist that they signed a contract. I think we are actually looking for trouble in terms of if this county is actually taken to court for paying unlawful salaries to staff. Number two, you say that you are actually having plans for officers' accommodation for staff. Do we really actually have such a plan? Could we actually demand that it is produced now, so that we actually agree that we actually have plans? Then lastly, you said that the Department of Administration and Public Service is working on organogram. I thought organograms should be done by various departments, because you cannot tell me today the administration and public service would really know what the Department of Agriculture needs, what the Department of various departments. I tend to think we need an explanation that should actually indicate clearly if it is done. It should not actually just be said that it is being done by public service, not the various departments. Thank you.
Respond to that, and on that note, also, I think I am not getting clearly what you are giving us an explanation. Let me reframe it this way. Could you give us the numbers of the staff who have got a graduated pay from the ones in their contract previously, and by extension, give us the modalities that you use now that you are the head of public service to be able to have these people on this particular position of advantage against their colleagues who does the same work. And lastly, confirm that there has always been a gradual, regular promotion of all staff irrespective of who or when they entered into the service to this county?
CS, answer those quickly, and then I'll take the next round of questions for CS before we can conclude with the CS. Proceed.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. When the new government took over, there had been stagnated promotions that dates back to, others dates back to 2010, others dates back to 2017, well, earlier on. And the first thing that we thought it wise to do was to have a plan of these promotions. Because, and I want to be very clear that even as you promote, you have to have a budget, and I explained earlier on. And we have started with health, we have done agriculture, and we are moving on with the other departments. We don't want to have this thing wrong. We want to be very clear where we are placing people in terms of promotion and in terms of all the requirements for promotions, and it's ongoing. Two, the issue of consolidated pay, I explained earlier on that it was based on a recommendation that was done by an ad hoc committee. We are waiting for the end of their contracts so that we harmonize this with the others. And the process is very simple. We will do a budget, look at the performance of those particular staff. Those who qualify to move on, we will be able to give them the next harmonized, the pay that is spec'd on a job group. The other issue that was raised by Honorable Komen, which I am just clearing it, that the level at which the organization structure is that we are beyond the departments. Departments have given their input already. We are consolidating the organizational structure for the entire county before we bring it to the county assembly for equally for public participation. And so we are beyond there. We are actually out of it already. We finished it. And then the other one is on the offices I said are required. And even as we equip them and ensure that every ward administrator and the other officers are done, this has to have a budget that we must have it, in reality, knowing that together with all the other things that the county actually requires, we have to budget all of them, including these offices. And I have said we will do as a way forward for the issues of the offices. I don't know whether I left something.
Maybe Honorable Ngetich,
Chair, my question has not been responded to.
yes, what
The
is
exact
it?
number.
Yes.
The exact number of staff outside the payroll.
I will answer now.
Could you be precise on that?
Yes.
It is a question of numbers.
Correct. Honorable Speaker, I think when I was invited, among the issues I prepared for did not include that, and I'll endeavor to go and bring.
Fair enough. You have given an undertaking to bring. Make sure that you submit before we finalize the report. So Honorable Ngetich, then Honorable Bwambok, then Honorable Walter Teno.
What I wanted to ask the CS
Also Honorable Hillary, I've seen you, so yes. Proceed, Honorable Ngetich.
Concerns the salaries. The CS has told us that they pay depending on their qualifications. I was just wondering, does it apply to ECD teachers? Because we know we have ECD teachers having certificates, diplomas, some are graduates.
Honorable Bwambok, I hope you are taking note of that. Honorable Bwambok.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, through the Speaker. So, our county secretary, this issue, for example, the issue of the salaries that has delayed from maybe December to this June, it has taken too long, and already as now the steerer of the team, what steps are you taken earlier on? Because the issue of the pinch that we the staff I've had came from this assembly. And seems that since you are the right team to have worked over the challenges that had come, you have not even involved us in one way or another that certain issues could have been solved in one way or another. So you took time, and I know, County Secretary, when something is being delayed, then at least it has got its course. So, as concerning again, I can see those staff who are employed beyond the limit that the requirement was needed, from 170 and up to 381. Now, we're coming way forward again for the same, because if certain repetitions are being made, will that not render us into somewhere which is not required by the law? So I hope the question again that I got from there, as concerning the staff, there are those who in the earlier on, they are getting 11,281. Those ones are those who do not have the certificate. There are these drivers also who are in. They are working for the government. They are claiming that they are underpaid. They are being paid, they say, 11,000, all of them. So what steps? Because as concerning that team, they are working nearly from morning to evening. So I hope, as the boss of that our department in general, at least you must see the guidelines that are being followed, and then you work with our CC Finance, Lakat, who has got to address some of the challenges that are affecting this team. So those are the few questions that I can see in the department, but wishing that you would address, in ourselves as a team, county oversight team. We have had many that we have had, but the delayance has caused really a tough war together. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I think let us be brief and go straight to the question. Then we can leave the comment for AOB or during the report writing. So, Honorable Walton, then Chamase.
Okay,
Hillary.
thank you. Thank you, Chair. Mine will be brief. And number one, from the memo from CS, that is on 23rd, to the whole county staff. It says that the salary will be credited to the account by Wednesday, that is yesterday. I want to confirm if they say it has been effected. Number two, what plans do you have so that in future the staff of the county can be cushioned against this issue of delay of salaries? That's my question, Chair.
Hillary, find yourself a microphone immediately, as Honorable Hillary said. Honorable Teresa Mayo.
Maybe, Chair, clarification before,
okay, Walter.
Before you proceed, because I saw in that letter, Bonasias, you indicated that the salary will be having the salary. The staff will be having salary on 27, and 27 is Saturday, but you said Friday. So I think the letter was not clear as to when is it Saturday or Friday. So can you clarify?
Maybe I think that issue for that matter, I think because I think that letter was not sent to the assembly, unless we can just.
But it is a memo.
We can just ask the CS to clarify that, because that letter was not is not yet sent to this particular assembly to interrogate further. But we can get clarification from that.
Chair, the question should be: can the CS give us a copy of the letter that he communicated to the staff of this county?
Fair enough. Honorable Hillary.
Thank you, Chair. I want to speak for some category of staff who mainly work on the health facilities, dispensaries, health centers. They are either social workers, cleaners, some are even cooks. They seem to have been relying on donor funding earlier on. But they are still within the facilities and they work. And if you find yourself in that facility by any chance, they'll be very quick to tell you that they have a delay of 8 months, 7 months. Previously, it used to be a year. What is the concept? What is the understanding of this? What really is the issue there? If they were under a donor funding, that fund lapse so that we can have a once and for all solution for them. What I have seen some of the facilities do, they try to pay them using HSSF funding. Some even could be paying using NHIF payments. So there seems to be a problem with that team, and you will find them. I have a number of them in my ward, in the sub-county hospital of Tinduyet, Meteitei. The other day we went there and we found the same problem. Then the other thing is a comment to the CS and the team. Gradually or progressively, as you make payments monthly, it is proper then to harmonize those people who are under IPPD and those who are the payments outside that. Because it came up as an audit issue, I know Honorable Cynthia recalls. We know we cannot run away from that. It is bound to happen for some reason, but they harmonize the harmony between the two so that when audit team come and they pull the payments, the treasury releases marked salaries, and the income statement issued by our accounting officers, the item salaries should be tallying or should be explained progressively. Thank you.
Honorable Teresa Mayo,
Thank
followed
you.
by Chemnyango Justin.
Thank you. I don't know whether I'll repeat myself because I've been away, but let me just ask one question.
Then why don't you take, still take some time to understand? Before
No, I understand. Let me just ask about NHIF and the insurance cover for the employees. I know their payment has been delayed or not paid at all for some time, especially the resolution insurance cover. So the employees cannot access services through the same. What is your take and what is happening? As concerns
we give the CS, but as you respond, I have an issue on ECD teachers employed, 473. How many were advertised, was sought for, what was the number in the advertisement? Because eventually you're saying 473 were employed. And then what is the criteria used in promotion of healthcare workers? You talked of, you have done promotion in health. Lastly, are you aware that there are some people who are employed in 2013, 2014, who are still in the same job group to date? And what is that? What is it that you have been doing in the years that you have been there to make sure that this process is hastened to boost the morale of this staff?
Chair, before the CS
Quickly,
answers,
Honorable Terry, because we want to finish up.
just one question concerning the ECD teachers and their supervisors. You talked about the HR guidelines, that is the payment as per their qualifications. Why is it not applying to the ECD teachers and the supervisors? You realize that all of them have what is not in their payslip. Their payslip is talking something else, and then there's a different sort of an agreed amount which is very far below, like 8,000, 10,000, and 12,000, regardless of the qualifications for the same group.
So, Dr. I think you need to answer those questions comprehensively so that we'll be able to now proceed to the CS to the CC Finance. Quickly.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Salaries for ECD teachers, this was initially negotiated by the previous government. And the time the salaries were supposed to be varied as per their qualification. We were advised that we wait for the scheme of service for the ECD teachers because there was a contentious issue between TSC in recruitment of these teachers and the county government. And so as it stands now, I am told the scheme of service is progressing well, and we hope that as soon as it comes, we are going to implement the scheme of service for the ECD teachers, and we are going to place them appropriately. Honorable Wambok asked for delay in salaries or plans going forward. According to what we had planned, with my colleague, CC member for finance, is going to address that. And so I seek that I don't repeat, Honorable Speaker. The next one is the way forward for the 381. We have to sort this out within the law. And we have been doing consultation. It must be sorted within the law. The other one is a memo crediting the salary. It's meant Friday, by tomorrow. It is saying from Friday. It's actually meant Friday. And so that Honorable Chair, members can have the right of replying. I have shared the same memo with the Honorable member who asked the question. He has it already.
Can you confirm that there was an error in the dates?
The first one had an error and I corrected with another one. It's already there. And I wish the two were chosen and I would have said I'm picking this, but I'm saying there was an error. And it is Friday is 26th.
I think, CS, the point is that is a very big issue now that you know your communication is from an office of authority as the county secretary. Those are very, your team in your office is doing you a disservice. And you as the person who proofread before signing is also doing a disservice to that particular. Yes, Honorable Kure.
Chair, I think at that point, the issue of the error, we will somehow get used to it. However, Honorable Speaker, that aside, my question. 381, how many are working? How many are not working? Of those working, how many have been paid? And how much? And for how long? And those who have not been paid, why?
I think, Daktari, that should be the last question, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
There are some that you've not answered, including that. So quickly finish on that.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I thought that I was going to provide information on 381. I thought that earlier on.
So that must be in writing, and the implementation chair will present before the House.
That's fine.
Fair enough.
How soon, Chair? Because, Honorable Chair,
I think that is settled.
So, no, Chair, it's not settled because unless we have that clarity, which informs the budget that we are about to adopt, Chair,
And that
it has
is
to be very
even,
soon.
And that is, I think, after this, now that it's something in writing, he will provide, because this report has to be tabled by next week only.
Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Proceed.
The issue of payment of the staff that were initially under the NIDA and other partners, we have a plan that we had proposed with finance to set up a fund that is going to, in future, going to take care of such kind of issues as they may arise. Some of these partners have been withdrawing, like Walter did, Amber to some extent. The NIDA, sometimes we have issues. So we have a fund that is on course, and that is going to sort this out. The other one is the harmonization of salaries. I promised that we are going to do when the present contracts expire. And the other one, Honorable Speaker, is the NHI and insurance. We had planned that CC Finance is going to respond to that also. And I had said earlier on. And I think lastly, promotion of staff that was asked by Honorable Gideon. There are staff that have not been promoted as far as 2010, as back as 2010 rather. And I have said we started with health and we are progressing to the other departments. So once we are done with health, we've done agriculture, bit of agriculture, not all. And then we'll go to all the other departments, ensuring that they are factored in the budget. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Daktari, as a summary of that, number one, because I've picked the questions as well as your answers. Number one, can you confirm or give a commitment to the House that staff rationalization is a guarantee? And if you remember the first question Honorable Gideon raised, it's about the job groups and all that. You need to give a guarantee as to how you intend to undertake the same, as well as the place of, because this is the work of County Public Service Board. In short, how do you intend to do that? Just within 20 seconds.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Rationalization of staff is a very critical HR practice that has to be done. We will do together with the Public Service Board and ensure that we provide the best practices in terms of rationalizing this staff.
A timeline, Daktari?
We endeavor that within the first quarter, because everything is now resuming in terms of...
that is by September?
By September.
How then would you answer the question by Honorable Cynthia? Does that offer a solution to the problem? Because the problem we have, does it mean we have a bigger workforce than we can afford? Or, yes, the workforce can be there, but the rationalization can be a solution. You need to pronounce yourself on that.
The rationalization is going to provide a solution. And we have the optimum number of staff that is guided.
You can confirm that now it's
Thank
working?
you. It's working now.
So you've given your word on rationalization, but about the size of the workforce?
The size of the workforce, Honorable Speaker, as guided by the organizational structure, the organogram, and together with ensuring that we have, I would rather say, productivity of staff. This is an exercise that we shall do together with the Public Service Board and ensure that we have productive number of staff and ensure that the staff that we have fits well within the organogram.
CC Finance, most of the questions touched on you, and Daktari had deferred to them. I would want you to start with the same as honorable members also prepare their set of questions, because quite a number of them in answering you would have limited the number of questions we have. Proceed quickly.
Thank you, Chair. I hope I'm able to capture all the questions that were deferred to me, but just in case I leave out any, I hope the same can be asked. The first item that I picked was the non-remittance of statutory deductions. This is NHIF, NSSF, and pay-as-you-earn. I wish to confirm that it is not non-remittance, but late remittance of the statutory deductions. The understanding of statutory deductions is that these are paid when salaries are received, when salaries are being paid. So this is an employee deduction. So we cannot deduct when we've not paid the salary, which is the basis of making those deductions. We have a challenge, of course, as I said, that when salaries delay, obviously statutory deductions delay. And these statutory deductions, of course, have timelines. Pay-as-you-earn and NHIF ought to be paid by 9th of the subsequent month. NSSF ought to be paid by 15th of the subsequent month. The attendant penalties that accrue, because this is system generated, we're always able to negotiate and get the same waived on our part. Of course, sometimes we have the challenge whereby KRA will always raid our account without our consent, but I'm happy to report that we've always been able to negotiate either with NHIF or KRA to waive those statutory deductions. And the only permanent solution to this is if we'll always get remittances from the National Treasury on time. The bulk of the statutory deductions that we've paid to date is pay-as-you-earn. When we came into office, KRA came to us with a bill of about 600 million shillings, being statutory deductions from previous financial years, from 2013 to 2017, that had not been settled. And these ones, the gross amount was about 200 million, and the 400 million on top was penalties and interest. This is part of what informed the very first supplementary that we undertook to clear the balance of 200 million shillings that was owed to KRA by the previous regime. And therefore, I want to confirm that we've always paid statutory deductions, albeit with the challenges of late receipt of funds. The other question that was deferred to me was how to deal with these further delays in salaries so that in future we don't have the delays. Of course, a reference was made to national government, where the national government employees always receive salaries on time. And this is where I want to shed light that how the whole devolution structure has been set is faulty, to the detriment of the counties, and I'm happy that the Secretary General of CAF is here so that he'll pick up the matter. When you look at how funds are split, by the national government, the first charge, of course, goes to the Consolidated Fund Services, which pays largely the salaries of the constitutional office holders, the debt and pensions, both monthly pension remittances and the consolidated payments of pensions. The second priority that the funds from national government take is to MDS, the ministries and the departmental agencies, parastatals and all that. We come a distant third or even fourth as county governments, and coming a distant third or fourth means that our salaries also shall come a distant third or fourth as compared to the salaries that the national government employees receive. So in any event, whenever there is a shortfall in revenue collection, the national government will always prioritize salaries to its staff. The fault arises whereby now the staff of public servants does not include county governments. How this thing would have helped us is to say that all staff in both levels of government should be prioritized in payment of salaries, but that is not how it is currently. It comes straight to just the staff of national government and the constitutional office holders. So counties were left out to rank number 3, number 4, and in our disbursements, it includes the salaries among other disbursements. The proposal that would work best is to cluster, to pick out the salaries amounts of the county governments and to cluster it together with the salaries of national governments and accord it the same treatment as national government is doing to their staff. So that is the biggest thing that I think should be fought by both this House and our Council of Governors so that we're able to achieve that fairness. We therefore want to, as a way forward, as I'd said before, is that when we receive May disbursements, we pay May salaries. We've been able to fix this problem with this crisis that has arisen because as we speak, whatever amount that we've received for May, which we received yesterday, about 480 million, we've actually been able to pay the May salaries and June salaries. This in effect means that we'll always be a month ahead in terms of salaries, so that even if there'll be a delay in disbursements from national government, we've actually taken care of a month in advance as opposed to the previous year where we've actually been waiting for that month's disbursements to pay that month's salary. However, the challenge we have, which is not worth being mentioned in this House, is that we still anticipate that our June balances might not be forthcoming, as has been advised to both the Speakers Forum and the Council of Governors because of the Division of Revenue Bill to amend the 2019-2020 DORA so that counties stand to lose about 30 billion. Remember, this is monies that we've committed. So our funds for Nandi County, for example, 460 million, which we are to receive in June, is unlikely to be forthcoming on the basis of that. Of course, the reason given is that it is the shortfall in the national level, the shortfall in national government collections. So therefore, I anticipate a challenge. Whereas we are hoping to have fixed this issue by paying a month's salary in advance, we've actually been taken back by the same National Assembly that they have actually accepted that money shall be deducted from counties. These are monies we've committed. So when somebody deducts monies at the tail end, it really throws us at a crisis. But the reality of the fact is that even though we were to dispute and say that the National Assembly does not approve that, the basic point is that the money might not be forthcoming. The challenge is really real in terms of when you see the collections by the national government. They're not meeting their targets. We are going on into a new financial year with a budget deficit of 1.4 trillion. We are unlikely to realize that money from debt. So that tells you, even if we stick to our guns as counties, we will still not receive the funds. And therefore, I just want to say, whereas we've tried to fix the problem, tougher times are coming. The national government will not be able to fund its budget entirely. And since counties will rank number 5 in receiving funds, going forward, we will actually be going for even 2 to 3 months without salaries. That is the reality to say. I was discussing with my members when they were asking me what is the likely way forward with the national government not being able to finance its budget. And I told them the likely thing that will happen is that government will print money. That, of course, shall bring out issues of inflation, and even your salary will mean nothing. You'll be able to display it on the road and nobody will pick because we will go the Zimbabwe way. So I just want to bring this house to the reality that we are headed to even tougher economic turbulence. And even as we focus on this issue of delays, let us look at it in the greater context of the national and the global crisis that we're even facing. And there will be some serious corrections. And even the budgets that we shall be bringing and committing before the House, it is unlikely that that shall be implemented because a budget is different from a cash flow thing. As long as we don't anticipate cash flows, we are likely to treat the budget as just another piece of paper. So those are the real challenges that we shall face. And therefore, it calls us to really make tough decisions, and the CS had alluded to the fact that the 380, and I'll tie it with the question that Kipkirui Chepkwony had asked, whether the 380 is in the budget. To confirm, the 381 employees we've not factored in the payroll figures that we have. We had made a proposal that the same be paid from the county youth service, which is a living legislation that was enacted in this House. So we had made a provision of about 44 million, and that the 381 were to be committed into the county youth service to do the cleaning, security, and even bush clearing. So in the budget proposal that I've sent, it was captured as part of that. In the absence of that figure, if that figure is amended, it means then that the hard decision that is to be made is to let go of the 381. And that is actually the likely decision we are going to take. The 381 have to be escorted, have to be sent home peacefully. Reason, of course, they cannot fit in the IPPD because we were hoping to pay them 7,500 shillings, but the IPPD would allow a minimum wage of a certain amount. It is one of the ways for us to stop digging the hole. We really have to rationalize, and that is part of the rationalizing that the county secretaries talked about. I wish I could, now, I'm not sure whether I'm picking all the questions. I've only picked the 4.
Maybe, I think, let me just say, because the CS never answered this, so that it is tied to the 381. The reason as to why we are in 381 is because of a recruitment. I asked the CS what was the advert saying about 473 ECD teachers, who happens to all be now in the payroll. Was it 473 or was a less figure? It was, I think, if I can dig up my mind, it was around 200 and something. And we have 473 in the payroll. Then the question I would ask is, why apply double standard? Or it's a case of having chewed too much that is causing some discomfort that needs now to be.
Chair. Okay, Chair, let me ask these questions to the CC for Finance. One, I'll pick from where you've left. Clearly, whenever an advert is made in the county of government, double the positions are employed. You're talking about 200 ECD teachers advert, and then we are 473 employed. We are talking about 170 support staff who had been advertised for health. Then we end up at 381. Now, question that was not asked by the CS, and I will insist on this. CC, can you be able to tell us the number of staff of the 381 who have been assigned duties? 1. 2, of those who have been assigned duties, how many have been paid? And how much each? And for how long? Then the tail end of that is those who have been assigned duties and have not been paid. Why? Dive to that, so that, Chair, I know I'm looking at us having to sum up the questions. You talk about all these issues about why we don't have money, why we can get the releases from Treasury. All that is fine. But the question comes to, what is our plan? Budget is a paper, so you say. So in that paper that we planned, it is indicating, CS himself said, that the Treasury releases, or what we get monthly, what we can afford from the county revenue collection per month is 5%. You said it. So 5%, I'm trying to look at 5%. 5% means possibly we are looking at collecting less than 15 million, or about 15 million, between 15 million and 20 million per month. Where that does put that in at the end of the year. And yet, the paper that we approved as a budget, you gave an estimate of monthly collection of about 400, or annual collection of about 400. But when you come to the facts that you are speaking to yourself, you cannot be able to get that. So out of that budget, because I asked it earlier on, why I was asking was, Chair, that before any employment recruitment is done, they have to confirm from Treasury or Finance that there are monies. So the paper budget will lie to you that you have money, and yet you know you don't have money. So you employ knowing that it is paper. So you transfer the paper to now paper contract that you cannot service. You can't pay. Whose problem is it? Again, in the paper budget, you did indicate, and we asked the chairman for budget, what exactly is our wage bill? Is it 35 and below? It was indicated, we argued about it, we said, no, what you indicated yourself in the estimate was 37%. But clearly, we have more than 40% wage bill of our budget. Whose mistake is it? The paper. It is our mistake as an assembly for approving. It is your mistake for lying.
Honorable Kipkurui.
So, Chair, I want to be very clear. My question there is, what exactly is our wage bill? And he has indicated, Chair, again, I want him to confirm, that the 381 are not even in the budget estimate that we have.
Honorable, quickly, I'll give Honorable Gideon wants to ask, then Honorable Cynthia, Honorable Terry, in that order.
The CEC Finance has said that the delay in payment of salaries is due to delay in release of funds by National Treasury. What explanation will you give to the fact that out of 47 counties, it's only 5 counties that have not paid their May salary. Nandi being one of them. Secondly, you're talking of late releases of funds. What is the status, now that we are in the last month, what is the status of the release of funds from National Treasury to Nandi as we speak? Are we up to date or not? Could you also tie that and give us example using Uasin-Gishu, Kericho, Bomet, and Mombasa? Because you are the CC and you, of course, you consult. You have, I know you have a forum of CCs. The position in relation to this late payment, because out of 47, only 5 counties, as Nandi is there. Then lastly, from the point of the Treasury, the head of Treasury, what is your position in relation to the wage bill in Nandi?
Honorable Cynthia.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I also have a few questions for the CCM Finance. One is an addition to what Honorable Gideon has asked. He has said that only 5 counties among the 47 were singled out. I just have a question. By any chance, Waziri, is Nandi County treated unfairly compared to the other counties? Because clearly there seems to be issues. And again, the second question, in regards to employment, are you asked, while the departments through the CEOs are submitting their intention to employ, are you asked about the availability of funds? I would want to know that. And again, there's an issue about the wage bill. You see, as I said, I think I'm on record in this house yesterday while we were passing the motion for you to be able to appear here today. I went through a number of papers and I also spent greater part of my night going through the reports of the COB. I have the report of the COB from financial year 16-17. Of course, our national shareable revenue does not change. It plays around 5-point-something billion. It does not change in all the years. So in financial year 16-17, the advice, I decided to start from here so that I can build up the history. The advice was, from the COB was the human capacity should be increased through recruitment. That is 16-17. In 17-18, where you are the CCM Finance, 17-18, the COB observation was the wage bill has increased by 26.1%. Of course, from 1.8 billion to 2.34 billion in record 1 year. In financial year 18-19, the COB has actually asked the County Public Service Board to be able to develop an optimal staffing structure and to be able to come up with strategies to contain the expenditure on personnel and the recurrent expenditure at 35%. Because the increase was by 28.9%. So you remember 17-18, it had increased to 2.34 billion. And in 17-18, a record 1 year, it was at 3.02 billion, 18-19. Of course, the percentage was 44.8% against 35 that's supposed to be, that is allowed by COB. Now, my question, and again, when you look at the CBROPs, the papers that we have, when you look at the amount of monies that have been used for purposes of recurrent expenditure, in this county, I don't know. In fact, I would be interested in having a structure or some sort of documentation in regards to the amount of money used to pay salaries per month, because the difference in these financial years, for instance, 15-16, 1.7, 16-17, 1.8, 17-18, 2.35, 18-19, 2.97, 19-20, 3.14 billion. And in 2020, of course, the ones that we are supposed to pass, it is a record 3.845 billion that's supposed to be used for recurrent expenditure. We would like an explanation, because seriously, it means employments are done hourly, so to speak. Because why the difference? In only in a year, we have a difference of more than 700 million going for recurrent expenditures. You know, I don't think it makes sense. So I think you should also be able to speak to the wage bill. And I'm glad that the CS is with us today, so that they can be able to tell us, are they employing people daily? Because this is becoming a dangerous trend. So that is my question. I want you to come out clear on the issue of the wage bill and those other two issues. And again, there is also something that you, of course, you keep mentioning, that the delay is because of disbursement. I'm just wondering, by any chance, is the county in good terms with KRA? Is it in good terms with the pending bills agreement? Because it looks like every time that there are counties who have issues, Nandi has to be one of them. There is no day that Nandi has not appeared in the list of those people who are not receiving their disbursements on time. Respond to those issues.
I'll ask Honorable Terry to put any small question, then CC, you pick up on that very quickly. We have limited time.
Thank you. In fact, all my questions have been asked by Honorable Gideon and Cynthia. My only one concern is the revenue collection. How automated is our revenue collection systems, especially parking and other revenue collections, like in the hospital and all the others? Are we maximizing our revenue collection? Thank you.
Honorable Hillary.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Over and above all that has been asked, my concern would be, in the spirit of pulling together as a county, what is it from the position of the CEC member finance, or even the CS, that the county assembly can leverage on, can support? What is it that today the members of this house, individually or collectively, can bring in to leverage so as to pull together in one direction? What is it today that Honorable Kipkuruch Chepkwony, for example, Honorable Gideon Koech, and Honorable Cynthia, and myself, over and above being able to ask the difficult questions that we do ask, can bring in to offer support collectively to push forward and offer a lasting solution to this government and even the governments ahead? Thank you.
CC, I would want you to answer that. Or let me allow Honorable comment. I don't think there's any other question. Honorable comment, quickly.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Mine is on the issue of, more of on the issue of revenue collection. As a county, are we actually seeing zero efforts in terms of revenue collection? Waziri Finance, if you really recall very well, I asked you the very same question Hillary is asking when we were in Mombasa. And you clearly indicated that you have ways and means of collecting revenue. From the experience that we've had, we are seeing zero mechanism and ways of collecting of revenue from your part. We have sand which is being taken away from, for example, Terrick Ward, various areas in Terrick Ward. I really feel a lot of pain when the lorry takes sand to Vihiga County, for example, or Kisumu County, and the same sand is taxed at Kisumu County or Vihiga County or Kakamega County, yet the same lorries have left our area without paying a single cent to this county. I think we need clear ways of us collecting revenue and improving our revenue collection. Number two, we have the planning department in our county. Do we really maximize collection of revenue through that planning? There are areas which are urbanized. For example, even Kapsengere region, we have Lelmokwo, Mosoriot region. There are people building constructions without actually approvals. And that is where that we are losing revenue that should be coming to this county. Can we have ways, can Waziri actually clarify and give us tangible ways that this collection will be done? For me, I would say we've employed a lot of non-essential staff who are actually just taking salary without delivering from day 1 up to day 30 of the month. If you go, like for example, tourism, you go to various sub-counties, you'd find more than 10 staff for tourism. How much are they earning? Could we have
Honorable Komen, in the interest of time, just a question, because you will deliberate during the plenary.
Okay. So, can rationalization be done in our county so that we're able to invest or put staff where we get returns? Thank you.
Honorable Pius will be the last, and then now CS, if there's anything that touches on you by Honorable Cynthia, you'll be able to respond quickly.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Mine is on the issue of revenue collection, which actually has been declining over a period of time. Let me direct my question to Waziri, Finance. I remember at one point in time, when you are being interrogated in this assembly, you are asked whether you are aware that there is a revenue leakage in this county, and you affirm that it was true. Maybe my question is, what is the magnitude of the leakage? Have you taken time to establish the areas of leakages and maybe the magnitude of the same? Another thing is on this problem, which has really persisted on delay of salaries. Do you foresee this problem spilling to the next financial year? Or what strategies have you come up so that this problem is resolved once and for all? And then lastly, you gave a reason that the main reason why these salaries are delaying in this county is actually because of disbursement from national government being late. Maybe from a historical point of view, for the last maybe around from 2017, 2018 and part of 2019, we never experienced such a problem. Why now? Where is the problem? I remember some few months ago, you were talking about pending bills being the main issue. But recently, you informed us that pending bills, all the historical, I don't know whether it is historical or the one you went into agreement with the Treasury to pay. You did say that pending bills is no longer a problem. So, what are the strategies which you have laid to see to it that future salaries are not delayed. Thank you, Chairman.
I think, lastly, do we have a monthly cash flow management plan as mandated by law? Is it there? And on the same note, I hope you will also answer the question that I had raised on issues whether we are up to date and comparisons in relation to our nearby counties.
I request, Chair, that I begin with a few questions that touches on me.
Yes, and you should be as brief and straight as much as possible because we are due for plenary in a few minutes' time.
I will do so. In regard to the increasing the wage bill, I want to state that this particular year, for example, we brought in staff that we transitioned from Walter Reed, about 47, and a few from Ambath. Similarly, we have CBA, Collective Bargaining Agreement for Doctors, Collective Bargaining Agreement for Doctors, that has this particular year has an effect of changing what we call health service allowance from 30,000 to 72,000 per month. Yes.
Which financial year is that?
The present one.
2020, 2021, or the current, 1920?
The current one. Is
The current one.
The one I'm talking about. And the other effect that we have, Chair, is that every year we have been having incremental plan that was given by SRC for all the members of staff, SRC. And every year there is an automated salary increment for all members of staff. And it's going to end this July 2020. And this in totality has had a lot of effect on our wage bill. Thank you.
Waziri?
Thank you, Chair. I'll just go systematically. I'll start from Honorable Chepkwany's question on what exactly is our wage bill in Nandi County. I think one of the things to tie with what Hillary had said is for us to help each other, but on the foundation of facts. At the moment, we are doing 52%. The 3.7 billion translates to 52%. Against what is required, 35%. So one of the assistance we are seeking is we agree on ways of how we can
Can you clearly give those percentages?
Sorry?
You're saying 3.7 is 52?
3.7 billion translates to 52% of our total revenues.
Yes. Against what?
Against 35%. So you can compute by how much we are far and over and above. So that should tie to what Gideon said, and not Gideon, Hillary said, what can we do to sort this? And it's part of what you gave us a plan.
Maybe to be clear, CEC.
Yes.
Is this the same question that you have asked? You've talked of medium term, the requirement on medium term.
Correct.
Is it still the same issue? Because this has been what the perennial question since you took over. You've always say the law requires the medium term.
Correct.
Why are you now saying that 5% is required?
Yes, 35% is over the medium term. The medium term framework being in a 3-year rolling average. So we can as well be okay at 52%, but if we can push the subsequent year to be 20%, as long as the average is 35% over the medium term.
Chair.
And
I think, Chair.
Yes.
Chair. Some
yes,
clarification on the same.
Briefly comment and then
Chair, is the 52% inclusive of CRF balances? Is it worked also including the CRF balances? Because in the CRF balances that we normally have,
no, the question, Honorable Comment, does it include?
Yes.
Do you still have another question?
No.
Yes, that should be the question.
Chair, I want us to be very clear. Let us not bring midterm and long. I just asked what is our wage bill,
52%.
which is 52%.
Yes.
Chair, progress from there.
Yes, thank you. So I think you need to answer the question by comment, whether does it include CRF balances? And I have a question on that. Is there anything called CRF balances? Do we still have anything that we need to receive, like by close of 30th? What is this term CRF balances? Explain vis-a-vis, and also the question that comment has asked.
The 52% as defined in the PFM is of the total revenue. So in a budget, if our budget total revenue, there's a column of total revenue. If its total revenue is 7 billion, it is 52% of that. So for example, when we're talking of 7.1 billion, our budget, 52% of that translates to 3.7 billion. So the simple definition of the county revenue. To also, I don't know. So then to also just clear with Kipkurui Chepkwany's question of the paper. I guess I realize he's insisted on the paper. The paper was meant to underline the fact that this thing shall remain a paper if we do not tie the budget to plan. In this case, what you've actually talked about as cash flow management. So we have a challenge of talking about the budget and tying the same to the cash inflows that we get as a county. Therefore, the mention of paper was not to say that we'll just approve a paper for the sake of it, but to actually say we need to translate the plan to action by way of having a working cash flow. And I'd actually said we need to stop digging, and part of the stopping digging is letting go of the 381, because now that we know that we are at 52%, we really need to make very tough decisions and start coming out of the hole.
Maybe the question should be, when did you arrive at 52%?
When?
Yes.
I didn't need to arrive at. It is just there for all of us to see.
No, I'm saying,
yes.
I'm saying, when did we get to 52?
Chair, let's make it nicer. Let's make it nicer, Chair. As of last financial year, what was our wage bill?
44%.
Yes.
44.
It was 44?
Yes.
So you want to tell us?
It has been increasing.
So you want to tell us that?
I want us to.
You want to, because the 381 has not even been come anywhere near the wage.
Chair.
As in, it is not captured anywhere in the 52.
Chair, let's.
So you are telling us you want to let go 381 when there is an increase in this financial year, 1920, of 8%.
Letting go of 381 is actually the first step. The second step.
I'm saying,
yes,
your point, because you know that we need to be at 35.
Yes.
You should be telling us why there was an increase of 8% from 44 to 52 under your watch, and you want us to let go 381 now that we are at 52.
Yeah,
what happened between 44 and 52? And who was in charge then?
I guess, well, I'll answer it in two parts. Number one is what the CS has actually been able to mention, that we have the collective bargaining agreement with the doctors, which takes effect every financial year, and therefore that one
When was the CBA entered into?
That is 2017?
2017.
2017, yes.
Who was the CEC then?
2017.
Yes.
It
let's forget about that.
That is a matter of the
Who
union.
took over that particular document of the CBA as the CEC? It is you, is it?
It is the public service, of course.
No, I'm saying,
yes,
because you are the man at the helm in charge of Treasury.
Yes.
In charge of Treasury.
Yes.
You took over that midway 2017-18 financial year.
Yes.
And you know that the financial implication of that CBA.
Yes.
Why didn't we live within our means then, to date?
By doing what, Chair?
By advising on the acts, because for that to rise from 35, the 35 allowed to 44, then to 52, it means there's some advice that you gave in between here.
Chair, for your information, I wish we could even hire more in the health sector. I absolutely have no problem in the health sector and the salaries therein. As a matter of fact, even if we were to close all these departments, I don't think we will collapse, but as long as we don't close health. Even if we were to close agriculture and go home, we will not collapse. But when it comes to health, There are other attendant matters that really have to be taken care of. And when I look at the CBA, the terms, and His Excellency, the Governor actually looked at the terms, and I was personally happy that these people need to be remunerated well. To add to that is that it's not only the CBA, we have the normal increments as effected by Salaries and Remuneration Commission, which take effect every financial year. There is also promotions, which is always effected at the IPPD level, and therefore, as you go into the new financial year, you realize that certain salaries have just picked a higher figure by way of what has been signed at the Public Service Commission, which directly impacts us. So there are certain parameters within the payroll that are outside our control, but that is only a certain percentage. There are items that are actually within our control, and basically I think that is the crux of the matter, so that we're able to really dissect and know what optimal staffing levels we need to establish. So I will still go back to your questions, because I just wanted to be able to clear one by one. You said out of the 47 counties, only 5 had paid the salaries, had not paid the salaries. Of course, if I was seated in your table, I would ask that you table that evidence as a chair. But nonetheless, let me just give...
No, you are speaking at the point of authority.
Yes.
Now that you are the CC Finance.
Yes.
Is it your position that that statement is not true?
I would need evidence. I think I know slightly more than 5 that hadn't paid. But this is not to give an excuse. I wanted to give a background.
Let me just say this.
Yes.
Because you seem like you want some clarity on that.
Yeah.
How many counties then have paid their May salaries to date? And how many have not?
Well, really, I haven't done the statistics, as it were. I know we have not paid. I know there could be the some that are paid, but I wanted to give a background of why we really haven't been able to pay. Mheshimiwa Pius said in 1819 we didn't have a problem. It is true. We really haven't changed our strategy of how to pay salaries. You receive the month's disbursements, you use that month's disbursements to pay the salaries. We only hit headwinds the day that there were delays in our normal month's disbursements. So the day we started delaying salaries, and we've said it is December, is because December salaries actually came way... I remember in December we paid our salaries in January 14th, which was way below. And you can really clearly trace that we received our funds about 4 days before that 14th. So every time we receive funds, we pay. However, what is it that the other counties are doing that we're not doing? Perhaps so that we're able to make some progress. When we got the report on the Auditor General on the pending bills, the first thing we did was to request for a supplementary budget for us to be in the right books. We had to pay the eligible pending bills, which was about 900 million shillings. We undertook and we drafted a cash flow plan from that October. This started in October, whereby for every month's disbursement, we broke it down to salaries and settlement of the pending bills. That is the pressure that sustained us all the way to March, when we cleared our eligible pending bills, totaling about, it's actually 942 million shillings. So every little cash that we had, other than after paying salaries for that month's disbursements, we were able to settle our pending bills. This is not what was happening with other counties. The other counties were not necessarily settling their pending bills. It was a decision we took ourselves as executive that if this has been declared as pending bills, can we just clear them? The other counties were able to retain a small buffer, of course, to the detriment of the contractors. So at any one point, most of these counties, either have a buffer of about a month's salary, and this means you deprive the contractors the payment so that you just save money in the account to pay salaries. 2, these other counties, you realize are counties largely urban, or they have a bigger urban setup. They're able to, for example, Kakamega, and you told me to use the case of Kakamega. Kakamega, their revenue collection is about 900 million shillings. Their monthly collection can actually pay their net salaries. This really forms a very good cushion for them. Every time there's a delay, they're able to use their own source revenue for that particular month to pay the net salaries. Same case with Uasin Gishu and these urban centers, of course. When you add all that, it gives us...
What about Kericho, Bomet?
Bomet, well, I'm not sure exactly of Bomet and Kericho, but I would talk of Elgeyo Marakwet. The model that Elgeyo Marakwet adopted is, number one, they really didn't have the pending bills, considering this was the same government that was there before. So for them, all that they have always done is, for an extra allocation after paying their salary, they save it for the next salary. In essence, they live for salaries only. For us, we wanted to achieve much more than just living to pay salaries. So the only challenge comes is when you really have a big wage bill, so to say. So really that gives you a wide array of reasons why counties have been able to settle salaries, and for us we've not been able to. But I want us to see what we've achieved in absence of us not being able to pay salaries. We've actually paid pending bills. If you can recall, in April, 2 months ago, National Treasury published a list of counties that were in good books in terms of having paid pending bills. There were 19 counties. There were actually 19 counties, and Nandi was part of it. So one of the things that I want us to note, even as we look at the issue of salaries, is that we actually appeared in another good book, even though we are appearing in this other bad one.
We are aware of that, but
yes.
this is also another crisis. You cannot talk of the good that is there without looking at the crisis.
Yes, and that's why we have to take one. It's a choice of one or the other. But nonetheless, we are heading towards what a solution would be. So to quickly wrap up what you had asked, Chair, you asked what is the status of release of funds by the National Treasury. I confirmed we've received May allocations, and the same hit our account yesterday, 24th of June. Salary shall be paid by tomorrow, that is Friday. Hopefully it will hit our accounts. The salary shall be 2, so it is good to advise members that it's not a jackpot. It is a 2-month salary. We've paid May and June, so I wouldn't expect that in June people will ask for salaries. We are unlikely to receive June. We've been advised so by the National Treasury because of the reasons I raised, the Division of Revenue Bill, which is being revisited. Therefore, it is safe to assume that what we've received is final for this financial year. Anything that has not been paid as an obligation shall either be a pending bill or its purpose lapses at this particular point for purposes of prudence in managing the funds. You also asked about...
Can you confirm that you are talking of May, June salary?
Yes.
Are you paying all the salaries, or you are talking about net?
I'm paying gross salaries, all salaries for May, and I'm paying net salaries for June. Net means you get your usual salary, but then I will not have remitted the statutory deductions, the NSSF, NHIF, some union dues, and KRA. That shall be a battle that I'll fight with those bodies, because if I can make the revenue account, the CRF, dry, if I can make it nil, then there'll be nothing for them to deduct. So I will allocate funds at the earliest to pay for those statutory deductions. So the point is it will actually delay, but I will always negotiate for waiver of the penalties.
Chair.
Yes, Honorable Kuri.
There was a question that was deferred to the CAC by the CS on the issue of the, specifically, for those statutory deductions, it's fine, but specifically on NHIF. What have you been able to pay for the NHIF remittances for how many months? And if it is not paid, how many months in arrears? And what are the measures that you have? Clearly, you have said the June salary is not coming. So technically, even the statutory deductions are not forthcoming. We all know July is always the driest month. So that means if you have a relapse of about 3 or 4 months, you have not been able to pay, it's going to amount to another 5 months. So have you paid for NHIF and what are the plans? Because that puts to risk to the members of staff on this county.
Yes, for the statutory deductions, we are up to date up to May. In this case, being this payment that we are making, because May we are paying gross salaries. However, since we are not receiving June disbursements and we've only paid June, it means we'll be in arrears in the month of June until the earliest time that we'll receive funding again from National Treasury is when we'll be able to pay that. However, the critical thing, as we all agree, is that NHIF is critical. Since we collect a bit of on-source revenue, we will make a decision with my chief officers so that whatever little on-source shall come through, we'll channel that to bring the records of NHIF up to date. But we anticipate that we'll get funds from August. So then from now, the next other available money shall be in August. And therefore, yes, we'll run into arrears for a period of maybe 2-3 months. It is a crisis we are all facing. The rider to that is we also need to adjust our belts to make it tighter because it's going to be a bit tough. I remember last year we received our funds, the earliest was it August? It was September. So maybe we might actually end up with the same scenario and we'll have tough challenges, and it is good that we be honest and we make this discussion.
Chair, one question.
Yes.
Chair, I would want to know from the CPA, Lagat. He's talked about all these issues, and clearly our problem is on our revenue collection in the county. And there is one component. We have the potential. As much as we want to be threatened by or scared by the figures from the town counties, we are the biggest agricultural county with gold in quote unquote the tea industry. I would want to know from the CEC, how much have we been able to get from the tea multinationals? Secondly, we are aware that there was a court case by the tea multinationals, and there was to be arbitration, a discussion with the county. What was the result of that discussion? Thirdly, is we know that there was a task force by, I think that the Lands Ministry, that established that the multinationals had underquoted their acreage, their land coverage. And now that there was resurvey, and we have new acreage, what decision has been taken by Treasury on that? So, Honorable Chair, I think I would seek that be responded to. Because if that is our problem, we are not collecting enough, so we are not getting enough from national. Because if we have to seek a way that Honorable Komena said, what would be the way forward, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Chair, we did adopt we have a Finance Act, but it is not being implemented.
Respond to that, and Honorable Deputy Speaker.
Yeah, maybe I need to ask about the CCR say that they will pay the salary for May and June minus a deduction. Now, I think also you need to commit to us so that to come next time, because we have the energy issues, the way Kupuri has said. And then two, to give us the lasting solution for this so that we'll not be coming here discussing issues that are not assisting us, because the issue of the salaries has become a problem. And I have heard the county secretary talking about the human. And the other question also that we are supposed to ask is like when you are asking Cynthia about the urban planner, how many number of seats can you plan in 1 acre? You know, that the question that we cannot have answers. So I want to say that the way you want to answer, so that next time, you the chair, we should not be asking the same question, and this issue of the salary should end, so that the county assembly will move and the issues are moved to this county. Otherwise, I want to say that the way you are commending what you are doing is a commendable job. The chair can do continue like that, but I am sure that you come to the end today.
Thank you for that comment. Could you respond, and I think be as brief as much as possible?
I don't know whether the previous questions are overtaken by time then. Because it looks like
there is nothing that has been overtaken by time.
Okay. I'll move very fast. The multinationals, the issue of the acreage, what we did, we did a resurvey, we did some GIS mapping, and we came up with new acreages, and indeed we noted that there was disparity between what was recorded previously, and the person asking is not listening. Kipkuru, I said the acreage we've since done.
Chair, protect me from the.
You are protected. You are protected, but I ask that also you
protect me from Honorable Cynthia.
You consult in low tones.
Yes, I said we did resurvey, and we have new acreages that we developed, which was a bit in discrepancy with what was there originally. We had expected to raise about 150 million shillings from land rates, and that was approved in the Finance Act that we brought to this House. Of course, they have since gone to court, and the matter is before court. Therefore, what the court ruled is that the previous position stays, and that is what we used to receive from them. It was a total of 11.6 million shillings. Out of that, we've only been able to receive 2.8 million shillings. We have word from them that they will undertake to pay the balance of 8.8 million shillings. However, the greater thing is we really want to build consensus with them so that in the next Finance Act 2020,
Maybe just to ask on that,
Yes.
what does the law say in relation to that? Because is there any injunction that they got on the happenings as far as the status quo is concerned? Was there any injunction that when they went to court, there was an injunction that they should not pay anything when they went to court?
yes, their prayers, as it were, is that they dispute the basis of us using area rates as opposed to value rates. Reference is made to the Rating Act, so then the court, on account of it wanting to look at exactly the details in the Rating Act, gave them an injunction that we only continue with the previous collection, but we do not implement any new rates. The prayers from our side is that they deposit us an amount similar to that which we are seeking from them, so that in the event that we are able to win the case, then the money shall just be transferred to us. That is the position that the court adopted, and that is why we went ahead to collect the previous amounts of 11 million shillings. And of course, we are better off getting the 11 than nothing. So that is why,
My question
notwithstanding the case,
my question is now, are they overdue in terms of that payment? Because if there is no injunction stopping the previous undertaking taking place, then they should have been up to date. Are they overdue or up to date?
they are now overdue on account of the court case, but the court offered direction that they pay it within this financial year. So for us, if they don't settle by 30th June, then
they
they'll
will
be overdue. Yes, and we'll slap penalties and interest. To quickly run through the other questions is, you asked about the monthly cash flow. We do that, and we try to tie it to the requirements. However, there are cases when we've expected a certain amount from Treasury, but they give us less money. And of course, we've always had issues to do with...
The question was, do you have?
Yes, we
as
do.
per law?
We do.
Yes.
We do a monthly cash flow. We do a monthly cash flow projection. What a cash flow would address basically would be to tie the commitments to the actual cash received. There are times I was saying that we've not been able to receive what we've indicated in the cash flow. So we've always suffered on account of those issues. Of course, another issue is the on-source revenue, when we anticipate to collect a certain amount and we don't get there. The issue on Cynthia's question, I think, were answered by the CS, but as to whether we're in good books with the KRA, yes, I can confirm we're in good books, evidenced by us even paying historical debt amounting to 200 million shillings from the previous government that it had never been settled. As to whether, from Terry, as to whether the revenue system is automated, yes, we have e-Nandi, and all payments are made via M-Pesa. We've basically banned cash collections, and anything that has been collected through M-Pesa makes its way to the county revenue fund, finally at the central bank. What can we do? Mheshimiwa Hillary asked, what can we do to assist you sort the wage bill? I said number one is perhaps I'll accept to take a leave of payment, maybe donate a month's salary, accept not to be paid in a month. It will help us address the whole. Number two is...
Is that a visible...
Other jurisdictions have done, and it's possible. I know one day we'll be faced with that decision.
No. Is that the last resort, according to you, as the CC in charge of finance?
Number two
is that the only remedy that you are looking at it?
It's one of the many. But two is to not front more people to be employed by yourselves to the County Public Service Board, so that you don't put them in a corner.
I think
among many others.
Would you be having information that you can supply to this committee that any one of us here has been fronting anyone for employment?
No, just in case there is
Chair.
any.
You must, what you say under oath must be substantiated.
I'll say just in case there is any.
Chair, the CC is not answering the question.
Yes, you are trying to do some side shows.
Yes, let me...
Stick to the issues and give a very clear... what you would want to be. There was a good concern by Hillary, but it seems you are not taking it.
No, I'm taking
anyhow.
Chair, and I refer you to what the CS said, is that within the first quarter of the new financial year, July, August, and September, we are going to undertake 100% staff rationalization, including, well, of course, part of it is being staff appraisals. And the point is we'll have to have staff with
Chair, point of order,
work.
Chair.
So that those staff who do not have work,
What is it?
we shall find.
Chair,
Order, Wazir.
Chair, I think the CC should be very clear about the statement he just made about the members of County Assembly. It should not go without clarification, Honorable Chair. If he has any evidence, and Chair, you would not let this go, as to any member of this County Assembly pushing, like he indicates, the employment of staff, Honorable Chair. Otherwise, Chair, that is just a joke, and he will be responsible for that statement, Honorable Chair. I think, Chair, we need to get clarity on that statement.
I think, Waziri, I had indicated that you need to make clarity on that matter. If there is no clarity and substance, then you will have to withdraw and apologize to the House.
Well, Chair, on that matter, I said just in case there is any. But since I have no recorded evidence, I withdraw that statement.
And apologize. You need to apologize.
To this House, Chair. Thank you.
You've not. You've not apologized. You've not.
I apologize to this House, Chair.
Fair enough. Proceed.
On the issues that are, so I've dealt with the revenue collection. What Honorable Comment raised is, I just wanted to confirm that it is not true that there is zero effort in revenue collection. From 2017, 2018, when we came in, we were able to collect about 197 million shillings, Chair. 2018, 2019, we collected 286 million shillings. 2019, 2020, were it not for the issues of the COVID, would have actually hit the 300 million mark and even above. But so far, we've collected about 254 million shillings, and we hope to be able to get the same to about 280 thereabouts before the end of the financial year, of course, depending on other circumstances. So I want to say, to be fair to finance, is that revenue has been growing. We've tried various sources. The fact that we've not been able to collect sand from his place does not amount to us doing nothing. Of course, what I tabled in this House was a strategy.
Order, Waziri.
Yes.
I have not heard anywhere. I think the honorable member mentioned that there are some aspects of revenue leakage. Was he specific on the issue of sand?
Yes, he was. Lorries carrying sand, he was specific.
So you are saying that you are not, as a county, collecting any revenue from sand from Terik Ward. What is the reason? You need to explain that.
No, we have barriers. And I'm saying the fact that he mentioned that doesn't mean that nothing entirely is being done in Terik Ward. To the best of my knowledge, and I have my revenue director here, is that all those revenue sources are being taken care of. Could be one or two leakages, and I'm saying could be.
Then you need, because you know very well and from your position that there could be some leakage. So you should be addressing the issue of how to stop the leakage.
Yes.
Not necessarily casting aspersion from the fact that it has been raised by the honorable member.
No, it's fine, Chair. I was just saying that his statement that zero effort should also be clarified and put in its proper context. As a matter of fact, we focus on, the first strategy for us is to do what we call 80-20 rule. Focus on the 20% of the sources that will give us 80% of the revenue. Sand might not have fallen within that capacity, within that bracket, but we'll definitely head there, and we continuously tighten the loopholes. And we welcome such comments, such places, and such suggestions. When that is raised, definitely my officers are able to pick that and action. So then, to conclude on the issue of Pius Murray's question, the delay of salaries, whether this is likely to continue, I said yes, because it is pegged on the funds we receive from the national government. But we've tried to at least go a month ahead. Like I said, we've paid May and June salaries using May allocation. So all factors held constant. If funds keep coming For example, if we were to receive June disbursement, we would use it to pay July salaries. So you see, we are already 1 month ahead. But if we are faced with a delay of about 2 months, like we are heading to, where we are likely to receive funds maybe in August or September, then that delay again sets in. But we really hope we can get the funds, at least even for salary alone. The second thing that we are doing to avoid it is we've had in our discussion, we've requested that the National Treasury breaks into two the disbursement, so that whenever there are cash flow challenges, they release funds specifically for salaries. When we raised that, the advice we got was that it has to be amended at the Division of Revenue, because the Division of Revenue is tied with the cash disbursement schedule. And apparently, the National Treasury cannot alter the cash disbursement schedule until the same is approved by Parliament. So we are hoping in this financial year, they will actually, because we've been asked to declare how much is our monthly salaries. We are hoping they'll break it into two, so that every month, they break salaries and the other amount, so that when there are cash flow issues in the National Treasury, they can release the salary portion alone, the others can come later. So we hope that shall also be a lasting solution, so that we're not faced with salary delays. And I think in a nutshell, that wraps up everything, Chair.
Chair.
Would you want to comment briefly?
In that spirit, in terms of the release, when was the last exchequer release to Nandi County? Apart from what we're actually discussing now, that the salaries have been released, when was the last one? And how much was that? And if you really say that salaries is a priority, was salaries actually given priority at that moment? And I believe we are independent part of the county, and I would believe when you're actually going for when you're going for the money, I think the county assembly should actually also be informed, so that we are able to get our shares and assembly also. Thank you.
Could you, those are straightforward questions, Waziri. When was the last exchequer release? What date, exact date?
Chair, for the 5th time, yesterday, 24th June.
Outside the yesterday exchequer, the most recent, what do we call it? Aside from yesterday's?
Other than yesterday's, we received on 30th April. 30th April.
Fair enough.
That is what we used to pay April salaries here. The other one before that was 30th March. So I have the entire.
Is there any releases that were done early this month?
Early this month?
Yes.
No. After 30th April, the next was 24th June.
Was there any form of development payment in early this month?
Payment of development?
Development projects?
Yes, RMLF, some were paid.
RMLF?
Yes. And of course, other development payments based on the 30th April release.
Okay. My question, I have a question in relation to, you are talking of revenue. What happened to the passage of charging tea estate plugging machines? And we passed that in the Finance Act.
Yes, Chair, it was in the Finance Act, but it is part of what the multinationals went to court to say that there is no basis for charging such. There is no basis, and that is part of what is being contested by our lawyers. So the basis of...
When was the case lodged?
It is part of what was combined with the CES initially, and I guess it has also recent...
The case on CES was done and a ruling given.
If you look at part of the communication we got from the multinationals, part of the prayers they were seeking was actually on the issue of the
Were there any orders that were given barring the county from charging those tea plugging machines?
Well, I really need to see the details on how the court split, because the ruling was on CES largely.
So I'm saying, Waziri,
yes,
we passed a Finance Act with charges on tea plugging machines.
Yes.
It is a law.
Without...
It is a law. It is a law. why haven't you as a department enforced that particular component?
Chair, again, the House needs to pass an underlying law to support that. A Finance Act is hanging without a mother law to implement it.
Have you communicated that to this House?
I assumed it is in process.
No assumption here. We are talking of, we're having a problem of revenue collection, own source revenue. How then does this bring about the assumption when it is something that should have been done immediately? Immediately we pass. This was something that was passed June 20, is actually August, is July or August 2019. We are now in 2020, 1 year down the line.
Well, Chair,
it was 2018.
Actually, yes, the motion was passed in 2018. We actually made sure that it is in the 1819, is it 1819 or 1920? Is it, in fact, it's 1819.
1819, yes.
1819 Finance Act. And you are so it is now 2 years down the line. You are telling us there is no enabling law. Who generates that enabling law?
Well, then if that knowledge was not available, I'll share, Chair. But what I'll need to mention is that part of the appeal when the cess was raised was actually touching on the same machine. Already they were planning on contesting it. So we are better off taking time to build consensus and to understand exactly how we need to go about it. And we had actually begun that process. I've been to the multinational companies' offices to start and build the consensus. And I'm happy every time I sign the visitor's book the previous day, I see you had signed yourself. So that means we are also engaging. And we really need to build that consensus and agree so that we don't pass something. When we want to implement, the people run to court and stop it. So I undertake that we sit, we look at the three major issues touching on the multinationals, the cess, the rates, and the tip lacking machines. We all have a common agreement with them, and then we can have it in Finance Act of 2020 so that we're able to implement as a way forward.
On the same note, in your engagement with the multinational, why haven't you involved the area leadership? Because even what you are talking about, rates and the likes, these are cases you have been handling as a department alone. Of course, I am speaking from a point of no.
Yes, we've been engaging them. We've not involved like the chief, the assistant chief and all that. We just went on the point of trying to
When I talk of local leadership, I don't know, I'm not referring to the chiefs. You are being petty, Waziri, and mischievous. I am saying you have handled, how many meetings have you held with the multinationals?
They've come to our offices several times. I might not be able to...
Yes, Hillary?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, with the knowledge that we have a few minutes to the start of the next plenary, and the fact that the motion was clear that we were discussing the issue of salaries, would it be in order if we wind up the meeting, because we have now gone overboard, over and above what the motion sought this meeting for?
Honorable Hillary, I think you are clearly out of order. You are clearly out of order. We are handling the issue of salary delay and its causes herein, which includes the own source revenue, which in a nutshell, we are squarely within our mandate. So
that's okay, Chair.
So you should, unless you have...
Considering that we have a few minutes.
Yes, we know that the issues of timelines, and I think we are finalizing.
And the substance has been handled. Now these are the peripheral issues, which we
it is not, you are out of order, Hillary, and I am the chair. So you are clearly out of order. You just invoke those powers when you chair pick and pack. But now that you are not chairing, allow me to chair this session. I think that we are finalizing. Any other comment from any honorable member before we, yes, comment? Briefly, one minute.
Thank you, Chair. I think the aspect...
And then Honorable Walter.
Chair, the aspect of, I think Waziri has not come out clear. When he said that the last requisition was in April prior to this one that he's talking about, because he's actually indicated that there is money for RMLF and which was sourced. Is that not a requisition? I think is forgetting that he's under oath. If it is them who decide that this money will go for RMLF and other development programs, but that is still a requisition. So I think something it needs to come clean about that aspect.
On your final comment, you will capture that, Walter?
Maybe, Honorable Chair, now that the motion that you brought as MCA Nandils on the matters of county importance that made the pronouncement of the budget be deferred to today afternoon. Now that the same issues of salary has been handled, can you now rule that the same pronouncement be done after?
You are clearly out of order on the ball.
Thank you, Chair.
The ruling was made in the floor of the House. That ruling will also be sought at the floor of the House. We are just in a committee of general oversight. What is it, Honorable Cynthia?
Comment, Honorable Chair.
Yes, comment, and I think make it 1 minute.
Yeah, a few seconds. So, thank you, Honorable Chair. Yes. Just to make a comment. It is clear that the issues that we have is one of them is the wage bill and the continuous employment. Now that you come from the other side of the government, I hope you are now taking home a message. And you see, for us to survive, we have to choose between development and these recurrent issues, employing everyone. And in employing, we also have very unsatisfied employees. And that is why you find we don't even get the revenues that we want. We don't even get the quality of services that we want. So kindly take a message to the boss that one has to drown for the other one to float. It is true. So, and the earlier the better. The choice has to be made. Just that it requires a lot of courage. And I'm glad that CPA for the first time today has owned up, saying that we have a huge wage bill that we shouldn't be having. You know, so those are baby steps to redemption. Thank you.
Honorable Chair.
What?
Can I get the information, the boss? Which boss are we talking about, Honorable Chair?
Maybe, I think Honorable Cynthia has clearly put it, and you know, CP Alfred Lagat is an appointee, and he's an appointee of the governor Nandi County, so it is a fact. What is it,
Thank you, Chair. Mine is a matter of comment, and it's only 1 minute. So
not 1 minute, 20 seconds.
1 minute, Honorable Chair. So mine, it's not a matter of question, it's a comment. And now that a technical team has come to this assembly, and of course, you know, after the outcry that has risen in our county, but since we have been given the confirmation that maybe salaries will be there tomorrow, then I'm requesting County Secretary with CPA Lagat and the team in future, so that you'll be just visiting the issues before any alarming rate come. I know there are issues that can be handled before, and the challenges, when it is being brought to the assembly, then the digestion will take time. So that is my comment, and as a matter of fact, we are very happy as a team
Fair enough, Honorable Kwambok.
Thank you.
I think finally, Waziri will give your closing remarks. And as you close, could you also answer as to why you've not developed any policy in relation to CSR as passed by this House? Because that would be one aspect of bringing forth some few cash to the fore.
Thank you, Chair. I think the comments by Honorable Bambok and Honorable Cynthia are noted. We are doing something about it. On the issue of comment, talking about requisition, well, of course, when we receive our MLF, that is straight cash from Kenya Roads Board, and that has a timeline within which it has to be transferred to the special purpose account. So I really didn't get exactly his question, or he's enumerating the number of requisitions, but for RMLF, definitely, I mean, that one is dealt with as per the requirements of KRB. but I could understand his question maybe when we'll be talking aside. I can explain further so that I don't take much time. On your issue of CSR, yes, we've begun the process. One of them is the issue in Chemase, the Kerebe mines. There are a number of things that need to be done, and we are going to ride on existing legislation to do that. And I remember this House had already passed a motion that we draft such a policy. So that is part of what is work in progress and shall be brought to this House. Overall, is to say thank you for this opportunity. I agree that we have a problem with wage bill. I say the first step is to stop digging and find a solution. Therefore, we'll be putting in place measures, and we've given ourselves timeline of the first quarter, July, August, and September, to do some staff rationalization, among other recommendations that we shall be able to undertake to reduce the wage bill to a manageable level. On the issue of delays, I say this is pegged on National Treasury's releases, and every time they hit headwinds, we also hit headwinds. So we really hope that the economy will stabilize so that we do not struggle with payment of salaries again. So thank you so much.
I think, County Secretary, do you have anything to add? And as the County Secretary comes in, are you aware that this House passed a resolution petitioning the Senate in relation to tea taxes or proceeds from tea?
That has not been brought to my attention.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. I want to say thank you for this time. Thank you for the fruitful discussions that we have had. More so, knowing that we are dealing with matters that touches on the staff of our county, quite a number of them also are people from this county, and since we are the people's representative, I want to appeal that even as we professionally sort out the matters of HR, we ask for your support going forward so that we do it together. Thank you very much, Chair.
So on behalf of the team, I think this committee, we appreciate your presence here to shed light. This is the way to go. When facts are late, whatever you've committed to present to this House, we will hold you to that you present. As a matter of fact, going forward, 1st July is fast approaching. CS, there are some action that the motion passed by this House spoke to. We'll be looking up to the action on that matter. I think, honorable members, to that end, we adjourn this session and wish everybody a fruitful afternoon. Thank you. This session is adjourned.